Good evening. We started without an intro, but we should be good to go. I'm just waiting for some more people to come in. How are you, Jill? I see you're here. Are you having a good day? Andrea's here. We're just kind of waiting. I need a sip of my drink here. All right. So tonight we are on episode 9. Last night we started with Kyle Neff's statement, and we're going to try to get through as much of that as we can tonight. I don't know if we'll go the full 2 hours. I'm not feeling good all of a sudden, but we're going to do as much as we can. So, oh, I don't want that. There we go. So, Andrea, what page did we leave off on? 44?
45.
45. Okay, so we're at the top of 45? I don't think so. I think we stopped. Let me make sure I'm on the right page. Okay, so we're in the middle of 44.
Okay. Yeah, because it says she came over and partied with us. We already said that. And so Buffy doesn't know you're here today, and he said, no, I haven't talked to her since I've been arrested.
Yep. Couple days before I was arrested. Okay, so do you want to start with that next line?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so you never gave Buffy any indication that you had any involvement?
Correct.
Because you had stated earlier that you never told anybody.
I didn't give anybody anything.
Including anyone in your family?
Correct.
We told you earlier that we asked, Gary asked you specifically about you making a statement in the jail, information that we received.
That's a lie.
About if the cops found out I set the whole thing up, I'm effed. Did you say that?
No, I never. No. I have talked about it with anyone.
You've never had any conversations in the jail about this death to anyone?
Other than saying I'm innocent? No.
Okay, but didn't you or did you say, though, you've had conversations with Neff with Yates in the jail?
Yes, we were. We're asking about, do you have this statement? Do you have this statement?
Oh, a statement that you received from your attorney?
Correct.
But in all actuality, you did set up part of this, and it was for the purpose of getting her to the park, and for the scare, not for the murder. Is that right?
Correct.
For the beat up part, not to be shot.
Yes.
Did you ever make a statement to anyone, I set the whole thing up? But you did set up the part of her getting her to the park?
Yes.
For the purpose of getting her butt whipped?
Yes.
Correct? But you never made any statements to anybody, I set the whole thing up?
No.
So, as far as you know, basically, this was a butt whipping scare tactic on Elizabeth's part to get her cocaine back?
Yes.
After the death, prior to the death, while you were in the park with Tabitha, was she ever sexually assaulted in any way?
He's shaking his head no.
Even after you said Elizabeth took her clothes off?
Yes.
And you had some concerns when she was doing that?
Yeah.
What she was going to do, even after that, Elizabeth never did anything to her of a sexual...
I didn't see her do anything, no.
On the night when this took place, was there ever a party or anything that everybody was at? You discussing...
I don't know. I heard there was, but...
Who did you hear that from?
Felicia.
Who's that?
Nick's sister. Nick Hall's sister.
So there was a party on the night of the 2nd, as far as you know.
That's what I heard.
You didn't attend it?
I didn't attend it. I was told she was there with... Tabby was...
She being...
Tabby was there. I was told that.
Where was that party supposed to be at?
I don't know.
And Felicia told you that?
Yes.
And that's Hall's sister?
Yes. Actually a half-sister or something.
So if anything ever happened at that party, you wouldn't have had any knowledge to it?
Correct.
Do you have any knowledge?
I don't have any knowledge.
You were at Tabby's house on the afternoon of the 2nd.
Yes.
And I think you said you got there around 5:30?
5:30-ish.
And you had conversations on the phone. You said you thought you called 3 times, according to the phone records, to talk to Adam Johnson?
I thought I talked to him 3 times, but...
Did you always call him, or did he call you?
He called me once.
During that conversation, other than Tabitha and Drake, was anyone else present in the residence?
No.
You drive to Atlanta. You're going to meet Adam?
Yes.
You get your cocaine. You said it took like 20 minutes after you got there. In fact, you used your calling card, went into Bargain Bob's.
Bob's.
Shortly after that, he shows up, just like planned, okay? You take the coke. How did you arrive in Atlanta?
On my motorcycle.
By yourself?
Yes.
If Tabitha Raines had any cocaine in her system...
I don't know where she did it.
Did you give her any that night?
No.
Any that you obtained?
No, I didn't. I was pretty greedy with that.
Did you and her smoke any marijuana or anything while you were at her house?
No, I didn't have any.
Do you smoke cigarettes?
Yes.
All right. You know that was kind of a loaded question. I just watched you smoke one, right?
Yeah.
What's your brand of choice?
Camel Menthol Lights.
Is that all you ever smoke unless somebody gives you one?
Yeah, that's all. Yes. In the jail I smoke Cools, but...
You smoke whatever you can get your hands on.
Right.
If you had to go buy a package of cigarettes today, what would they be?
Camel Menthol Lights. But I remember around that time I was smoking Newport Lights too, because they were on sale. Buy one, get one free.
Then answer this question. Did you smoke a cigarette that night in Tabitha's apartment?
I think so.
What would you have smoked?
Either Camel or Newport.
Okay, you think you did. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I don't know for a fact. I don't remember.
Would you have put that cigarette out and left that cigarette butt in the apartment?
Yes, I'd either put it there or...
So if we found a Newport light there, that's a good chance it came from you?
Yes, or a Camel Menthol Light.
You said after you got the cocaine, you took a ride.
Uh-huh.
What'd you do?
I did some of it. Actually, I had done it all before I came back into town.
And you said you kind of put it on your gas tank and did whatever you do.
Right.
So by the time you got back in town, which you mean Tipton, you didn't have any more cocaine left?
No, I didn't.
What time did you meet Adam Johnson about? Do you recall?
Around 6:30-ish.
Okay.
Around there.
How long were you with him? You know, from the time he pulled up till the time that he left.
I think I was with him 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say.
Do you know where he was going from there?
No.
Do you know where he had been prior to meeting up with you?
No.
How did you contact him? Was he on a what cell phone?
Cell phone.
Was he on his cell phone?
Yes.
So you obviously had access to his cell phone number.
Yes.
Which obviously.
I had his girlfriend's cell phone number too.
And who is that?
Shoot. She comes out to the restaurant.
What's she look like?
Blonde hair, sort of thick, not real thick, but pretty. It's on the tip of my tongue.
It's been his girlfriend for a while?
Yeah, it has.
You say it was about 6:30?
Around there, yeah.
That you met him. Okay. Then you went out to the country, did the cocaine on your bike, and you got back into town. About what time did you get back into town prior to ever seeing Elizabeth again?
8:15, around there. Are you there, Andrea? We can't hear you. Uh-oh, we're having some technical difficulties. Hi, Vid Inquiries. Thank you for becoming a member. Hang on a minute. Did I freeze? Can you hear me? Okay, she's gonna go out and come back in. Hey, Jinx, how you doing? Okay, so everybody in the audience can hear me. It's just Andrea that's... She said I froze and that... and then I told her I couldn't hear her, so she jumped out and she's going to jump back in. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Felicia Calvert smoking Newport menthol. Okay. Oh, okay. Had to update your Google. That happens, huh? There she is. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I don't know what happened. My computer just lost internet, and then it came right back on.
I kind of figured it was on your end because all of a sudden I couldn't hear anything you're saying, and the audience was said they heard me. So,
well, and it showed my circle, but it showed you spinning.
Oh, that's weird.
So I'm like, okay, where did she go? And that's why I sent you the message saying, where'd you go?
That's funny.
Okay. So, prior to seeing Elizabeth again, third line.
Hang on.
You say 8:15.
Yeah, 8:15, around there.
So you're out an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Could it have been later than that?
It could have been, yeah. That's what time I'm guessing. I don't have a watch.
Okay, just say approximately.
Okay.
For the times you're not narrowed down to just 10 minutes or 20 minutes.
Right.
Then they're approximates, right?
It'd be between a half an hour.
Okay. Have you ever driven Balser's car?
No.
Ever?
No.
Have you ever been in Balser's car other than the night of the homicide?
No.
So if you've got someone saying that they saw you drive Balser's car, that's not a correct statement?
Correct.
We're going to go one more time because we can. To that evening after getting Adam Johnson, making contact with Adam Johnson, okay?
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to kind of refresh what you've said. You get the phone call. You drive to Atlanta. Supposed to go to Bargain Bob's. Is that correct?
Correct.
What time did you get there?
Around 6:30.
Was Adam Johnson there?
Yes. No. Inaudible.
You, in fact, had to use your calling card. You took a drive to Atlanta. You went to Bargain Bob's, called on his phone.
Yes, I was already there, so he was gonna...
From the time you first arrived in Atlanta, how long after that before Adam Johnson arrived?
10 minutes.
Okay, and you spent how much time with Adam Johnson?
3 to 5 minutes. We talked, not long, but talked. Crap.
So he left. You spent approximately an hour and a half at least.
Yes.
Out in the country riding.
Uh-huh.
And doing all that cocaine.
Yes.
And how much cocaine did you buy?
1/2 gram.
Spent how much money?
$50. I think he might have given me a little bit more, though, because he thought he always hooked me up good, because...
So you were a good customer. Is that fair?
Yeah.
You do the cocaine. You come back in town 8:30, a little after. You're not really sure?
Right.
You see Elizabeth Balser.
Yes.
Have a conversation with her where at?
On Court Road. Is that right?
Court Street.
That one-way road.
By the utility office.
Um...
And with that, you agree to get Tabitha Raines to the park for what Tabitha Raines is to believe to party with Elizabeth Balser. But indeed, it was why.
To beat her butt.
Who was going to beat her butt?
Liz.
And in fact, specifically, what did you do after you met up with Elizabeth Balser?
I went to look.
And she leaves.
And she leaves. I went to my Tabby's house down the alley.
And you find Tabby?
Lights were off, so I didn't stop.
But at some point in time, you did have a conversation with Tabitha Raines.
Yes.
Where was that at?
Around on that sidewalk right out there.
In front of Village Pantry?
Yes.
What time was that?
It was around 9.
What did you tell her?
I told her that I got a hold of Liz. If you want to party, meet us in the park here in about a half hour.
In fact, earlier in the evening, did Tabitha Raines tell you that she would like to hook up with Elizabeth Balser for the purpose of partying?
Yes, when I was over at her house.
And we have told you that Roberta Raines' story is that Tabitha dropped Drake off and said she is going with Amanda's.
To go to the hospital.
To the hospital to see Amanda's grandma, correct?
Yes.
Did you tell Tabitha that Amanda's grandma was in the hospital?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Because she asked me where Tabby was or where Amanda was.
Have you partied with Tabitha before?
Plenty of times, yes.
Would it be fair to say that, or do you know if Tabitha's ever made up stories before?
Plenty of times.
For the purpose of being able to party?
Plenty of times.
So if she told Roberta Raines that story, that wouldn't surprise you?
Correct.
So have you ever known her before to make up a story for someone to watch Drake, or a story to tell Michael, or anything for the purpose of going to parties?
Mike never watched Drake, but she would.
Somebody was.
Make a story for Roberta? Yes.
Have you ever been present when she's done that?
To her mom, yes.
To Buffy?
Buffy, to watch my son and her son.
So you do find Elizabeth in front of Village Pantry?
I found Tabby in front of.
Oh, excuse me. Tabby in front of Village Pantry.
Yes.
Okay, and she agrees to go to the park?
Yes.
Where do you go from there?
I go...
In fact, she asked for a ride.
Yes, I told her no. I gotta go do some stuff.
And what stuff did you have to do?
I had to go look for Liz, but I told...
And you found Liz?
Yes, but I didn't tell her what I had to do.
Where did you find Elizabeth at?
I found her over on Madison and Main Street.
About what time?
About 9:30, shortly after. Right after I told Tabby.
Where did Tabitha go? Do you know? Was anyone present with her when you spoke with her in front of Village Pantry?
No.
So do you know how Tabitha got to the park?
I'm guessing walked.
But you don't know that for a fact?
I don't that for a fact.
So you and Elizabeth, then you go find Elizabeth and you find her at, I think you say Main and Madison?
Yes.
And what do you tell her?
What do I tell her? I just saw Tabby. Told her to meet us in the park here in about a half hour.
And did you go your separate way from...
No, she told me to follow her, and I followed her to the school parking lot.
Which school?
Tipton High School.
What side of the building? By the tennis courts on that side?
Yeah, by the tennis courts.
So that's the north side of the building.
East of the tennis courts.
You left your motorcycle there?
Yes.
In fact, you got in with Elizabeth Balser.
Yes, I did.
Prior, once you got into the car and you drove to the park, what did you do in between times?
We rolled a joint in the parking lot.
From the time you got into her car and you got to the park, about how many minutes had passed?
Probably about 10 or 15.
So what time do you think it was when you first arrived in the park that night?
About 10.
And you parked where? And when I say you parked, you're only a passenger, correct?
Yes.
In Balser's car.
We parked over by the shuffleboard courts.
Whose car was you in?
Balser's.
Describe that car for me.
It's a rusty colored big car. Older.
Looks like a boat. Would that be fair?
Yes.
It's not a small car.
Right, an older car.
And she drives into the park?
Yes.
And you park where?
Over by the shuffleboard courts in the gravel.
So by this time, you're looking at it being 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Little after, maybe?
Maybe a little after. Maybe a little before.
Did you see anybody in the park when you drove in?
Not right when we got in, but when we got the car stopped, we saw Tabby.
And why didn't you just go to the pavilion then?
We had to go meet John.
Because you said earlier that she was in the pavilion.
Yes.
So you already knew then that Jonathan Yates was going to be there?
When we got out of the car, I did.
How did you know that?
Liz told me.
And where was he supposed to meet you?
Over by the wood footbridge.
And why was he meeting you there?
To help.
To help what?
Hold, watch her back, make sure no one else tried to.
And you said that you had been promised cocaine from Elizabeth.
Yes.
And that was how much?
About an 8-ball.
Do you know if... Go ahead, Gary. You stated that he was down underneath that bridge. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
In the rock area?
No, there's not a rock area. It's a concrete slab, like step area that you can step down on.
Can you show us?
Yes.
Why was he there?
Waiting for us.
Why was he down in that area, though?
I don't know.
Could that area have been a location for this handgun to have been placed?
Could have been, yeah.
Do you know for a fact whether or not that handgun was hid there prior to Tabitha Raines being lured to the park?
No, I don't.
You're in the park. You guys get out. You say you see Tabitha, and then you find out Yates is waiting on you at the footbridge.
Yes.
Do you guys walk to the footbridge?
Yes.
What path did you take?
Sort of along the creek line.
So what you're saying is you park by the shuffleboard court. In fact, you said earlier there's a little cement slab down kind of over the bank.
Correct.
You guys went down there and you thought you smoked a joint.
We lit up a joint.
Okay.
And started walking.
So that's the second joint you smoked with Elizabeth Balser.
No, that was the first one. We rolled it in the car.
Oh, okay. And then you didn't smoke it till you got over there? And then you walked to the footbridge?
Yes.
What path did you take?
I can show you, sort of down by the creek path.
All right, so you arrived at the footbridge.
Uh-huh.
Is Yates waiting on you?
Uh-huh.
Was he already up off of the creek bank?
No, not till we said something.
Who said it?
Liz.
What did she say?
She's like, hey, John, come here.
So she comes out, or he comes out, excuse me.
Yeah.
You know who Jonathan Yates is, correct?
I've known him for quite some time.
So the three of you are standing there.
Uh-huh.
What takes place?
Well, we walk over to the road and holler for Tabby.
Does Tabby come?
It's your part.
Oh, yeah. He arrives over there. At some point in time, someone strikes Tabby.
Uh-huh.
Who is that?
Liz.
Is it with her fist?
As far as I could tell, I saw, yes.
Did Elizabeth, or excuse me, does Tabitha fall to her knees?
After a couple hits, yes.
What does Bush do?
She's sort of on her side a little bit, and he went to go help, and me and John stopped him.
So you physically put your hands on Bush?
Yes, I did.
And did Yates physically put his hands on Bush?
Yes, he did.
Was Bush ever threatened by Elizabeth Balser?
Yes.
And what was in that threat?
To stay the F out of it.
Did she point a gun at him?
Yes. Yes.
Who's with her?
Drew.
Is it the first time you saw Drew Bush that evening?
Yes.
Did you know him?
No.
Lie. Have you ever seen him before?
No.
But...
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, yeah, that's correct, because you said earlier that...
I could have seen him.
We got information that you bought pills off of him.
Yeah.
And that's possible?
I could have, but...
You just don't remember.
I don't remember.
So as far as your knowledge goes, you don't ever recall seeing him?
Correct.
Okay.
He doesn't look familiar.
Does yours go from 64 to 66?
Yep. So we're missing pages 65
to 65. Isn't that weird?
Yep.
Okay. Starting on 66.
Okay.
And you said earlier that you thought maybe it was more of an angle. It wasn't directly at his head, as far as you recall.
Yeah. Inaudible.
Okay, what happens next?
She turns, and I hear gunfire, and then I hear it again.
Did you see her fire the gun, or did you hear her fire?
I heard it.
Did you see the gun and the gun in her hands just prior to hearing the gun go off?
Yes, and right after, too.
Did anyone else that evening on that particular incident handle that weapon?
No.
Or any other weapon?
No, not unless John brought it up from under the bridge. I didn't think about that.
Okay, but
I didn't see it.
My point to you is this. Who did? Sean?
John.
John, just prior to then hearing the shots, the only weapon you saw was whose hands?
Elizabeth's. That's the only time the only person I saw handle the...
How many shots were fired?
I heard 2, maybe 3.
How many times was Tabitha struck, do you know?
I only saw once.
Where at?
At the forehead.
Point to the where exactly where you believe.
Right about there.
Okay.
About this area.
And it's at that point then, did Drew Bush leave the area?
Yes, he takes off.
Which way did he run?
He runs south and north. Or not south and north, but west and north.
Okay. Did he cross?
The footbridge?
The same footbridge that the wooden footbridge we're talking about, and he goes north?
Yes.
Did anyone chase him?
Liz went too, and we told her not to worry about him.
So at that point, she comes back and you guys assist her in carrying the body?
Correct.
Did she make a threat to you to get you to do that?
Yes.
What did she say?
At first we were like, no, we're not going to help. And she pretty much asked us if we want to be in the same position as Tabby.
And what'd you say?
Okay, we'll help.
And we've been through this, but we're covering it. You took the body over there and you helped put it in the creek.
Yes, I did.
Does Jonathan Yates?
He doesn't help put it in the creek, no.
And the clothes were removed by who?
Liz.
And where are those clothes today?
In my shed. Or my house.
Along with your clothes?
Yes.
Did you guys put them in anything when you hauled them away from the park that night?
No.
Were they bloody?
I didn't see any blood on them.
Okay. When you left the park, you guys walked back to Elizabeth's car.
Yes.
She takes you to your motorcycle.
Yes.
And you ride to where?
My mom's house.
On what street is that?
Condi.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I guess South Street and Condi.
At the pool, and we told you about finding an envelope on the ground. In fact, that envelope was given to me by someone walking to the area the next evening, okay? On Thursday evening, they didn't give it to me until Saturday. I didn't know anything about that till Saturday. They provided to me, and then I turned it over as part as the investigation, okay?
Okay.
So is it possible, because you had said that Elizabeth was going through her items, through her purse.
It could have blown out while I was riding my bike.
And you were riding. That was my question. Is it possible that it fell out when you were riding your bike?
It's possible.
Matter of fact, it was found on the north side of that street, which would have been in the area you would have been because you were traveling west. So that's possible that it fell out.
Yes.
But you didn't see it fall out.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
If I'd seen it, I'd probably picked it up.
Okay. Were there any phone calls made by any of you to each other on the night after the murder?
No, I talked to Liz once.
And that was quite a while after?
Yeah, inaudible. I haven't talked to John since.
Prior to, let's talk about each of the people that were in the park, okay?
Uh-huh.
You had stated you didn't see Bush prior to that.
Correct.
On that evening, you had never, as far as you know, you never.
I don't recall ever seeing him.
Tabitha Raines, you had seen her in the evening at her residence. You also saw her in front of the village pantry.
Yes.
And you saw her in the park pavilion prior to her being murdered.
Correct.
Prior to going to her residence on your bike that evening, had you saw her at all that day?
No.
What was the purpose of you going to her residence? How did you know she'd be home?
I didn't.
You shot in the dark?
Yeah, I was bored.
What about Jonathan Yates? Had you seen him that evening?
No. The last time I saw him was when I went to trade CDs for pot.
Prior to that night, prior to him popping up over the creek bank.
All right.
Had you seen him that day?
No.
And you say you saw him prior to that when?
June.
And that was to trade CDs for marijuana?
Yes.
You traded Yates CDs?
Correct.
And he gave you marijuana?
No, I gave him marijuana.
Oh, he gave you CDs?
Yes.
Elizabeth Balser, okay?
Yes.
When was the first time you saw her on that day?
Probably 3-ish, around there, or maybe a little after.
And that was when you saw her turn off Main Street and come east on Jefferson Street?
Main Street, yes.
That was the first time you saw her all day?
Correct.
When have you seen her prior to that? Do you recall? It had been a while?
I think that, if my memory serves me correct, the last time I went over to her house or anything is when she was living over by the trailer court.
And whose house was this?
Liz's. I thought it was Liz's house. It was over by the trailer court.
All right. Okay.
Me, Tabby, and Amanda went over there.
And just for clarification, has Balser ever been in your residence?
No.
And you talk about being in her residence on Sweetland Avenue.
I was on the porch. Yes.
You said you had been in her car. How many times?
Once.
When was that?
The night of the murder.
Prior to that, you've never been in her car?
No.
Have you ever driven her car?
No.
Derek Boyd and Frazier said they see Yates, Balser, and Tabitha Raines together in town. You already know that?
Yes.
You've read all the statements?
Yes.
Okay.
And Derek came out to my house and told me that too.
About around 10:30, okay?
I don't believe that.
Why is that? Why do you not believe that?
Because I was with them at 10:30. If they were in the car together, it had to have been earlier that night. Or they have their days messed up. And it had to have been another day.
Well, would it be possible, though, that if he says 10:30, it could have been 10 o'clock?
Keep going.
Oh, yeah. Could their timing be off the same as yours? Right. You've been off 15 minutes. I mean, we're all not perfect when it comes to time.
Yes, but their timing could have been earlier than that.
I mean, could it have been, you seen Balser at 9 or 8:30 the first time?
Right.
Okay.
It could have been right after I saw Tabby.
Isn't it fair to say that once that one rumor got out, that those fellows thought that they saw the truck downtown in the neighborhood of 10 o'clock, approximately 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you used before today's date to set up your alibi as to a time?
Uh-huh.
To cover your ass?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that fair to say?
Yes.
Because again, so times could be off a half hour here or there.
Correct.
Either way, is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know who Lindsay Groves is?
Yes.
Does she have any knowledge?
I know of her.
Does she have any knowledge, as far as you know, of what took place out there? Does she have any?
From what I've heard, yes.
What do you mean what you've heard?
What's his name? He was in my cell block. His baby's or her baby's dad.
Lacey?
No, not him. That's her boyfriend.
That's her boyfriend.
I'm
sure who you're talking about.
Morissette. Terry Morissette.
Yeah, Terry Morissette.
He says he believes her.
She has knowledge. But you know for a fact that there was no one else that was present other than what you've told us tonight.
Oh, wow, we got through that quick. All right, one sec.
You going through comments or are you reloading?
Right now I'm trying to get this other page up.
Oh, okay.
That went really quick. All right, we can go through comments though too.
There's not very many.
No. Vid says you're a good cross-examiner.
Right. I just know him.
So looking back at that, he's admitting that he's off on times, or he could be off on times.
And he was doing it to cover his ass.
Yeah, he's doing it to cover his ass, and he's pretty adamant that whoever said that they saw Yates, Liz, and Tabby in Yates' truck at 10:30 is mistaken on their time or the day. He's right, and they're mistaken, yet he just admitted he's trying to cover his butt.
Okay, my question is this. Where'd they get the statements and who let them read them?
I'm assuming their attorney,
his lawyer,
got the statements and let them read them. I love how he messed up and said Tabby's name instead of Amanda's name in that one part.
Yeah.
And he does not remember Andrew Bush at all, yet he's bought pills
and marijuana
and talked to him in the trailer court and everything else.
Right.
This statement has a bunch of lies. Now, this is his first statement. And I can tell you right now, lots of lies. Lots of lies.
And all of a sudden, his memory comes back.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and ask the last question on page 7. I want to know what's on the missing page.
I do too.
It
has to. Yeah, that's about when she supposedly shoots her,
or gets in a fight with her at first, and
right?
Then shoots her.
Right.
So why? Yeah.
Well, why is page 107 on missing?
Right. Well, we're gonna have to deal with what we got.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and...
Okay, the last question on the last page. But you know for a fact that there was no one else that was present other than what you've told us tonight.
She wasn't there. She wasn't there. I think she may have heard something, yes.
Because there's a lot of rumors being started, correct?
Yes.
Right. Oh, that was Stephanie Duran. Right. But nothing, then what? No one else was present other than what you told us this evening, correct?
Correct.
We've also heard there's a videotape exists of this. Is that true?
No.
Do you know who Justin Lacey is?
I saw him in jail once.
But he knows Lindsay Groves' boyfriend?
Yeah.
Does he have any involvement in this?
No.
He wasn't there?
Not of my knowledge. He wasn't there.
How about any knowledge?
Not that I know of. Not for me.
You guys all arrived at the park.
Uh-huh.
And we've covered this before. We're just going to go over it again. You arrived, you and Balser, in Balser's car.
Correct.
Correct? How did Tabby get there?
I'm guessing walked. I don't know.
You don't really know for sure.
Correct.
How did Yates get there?
I'm guessing either his bike or a truck.
You never saw him in a vehicle.
I didn't see a vehicle.
In fact, you said after the body, when you guys were dumping the body, he took off. He was gone by the time you got to her car. Is that correct?
Right.
How did Bush get there?
I don't know.
Any idea?
Chris Baker?
How do you know that?
Because of the reports.
Well, you're being honest. I appreciate that. You don't know that.
I don't know.
You're just telling what you've read. You don't know that for a fact.
Correct.
Did Drew Bush have any involvement in the homicide of Tabitha Raines?
No.
None at all.
No, he tried to stop the fight.
He didn't know it was going to happen?
Not to my knowledge.
He didn't know she was going to take an ass kicking?
Not till he got up there.
Till he got there?
Correct.
He helped move the body?
No, he was long gone.
Did he provide the gun?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, somebody placed a note on Drew Bush's on the mailboxes out at Country Living Trailer Park. Do you know who's responsible for that?
No, I don't.
But did you hear about that?
Yes, I heard about it.
But you don't know who did it?
No, I don't know where he lived prior to being finding out there.
Okay. You say the first time you saw Bush was when he walked across the grass with Tabitha.
Correct.
Did you see him in the pavilion?
No, I didn't. I thought I might have seen somebody, but I didn't know it was Drew. So I can't say if I saw somebody else.
But if you indeed saw somebody, you would have no idea who it was.
Correct.
You say, as far as you know, she was only shot one time, even though there were 2 or 3 shots, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When she was shot, did you see blood come from her forehead?
No.
Why?
I wasn't looking at her.
Well then.
I was more looking towards the back of the park. Make sure no one was coming.
After the shot?
Before the shot.
No, I'm talking about after she was shot.
After she was shot?
After she was shot in the forehead. You've already pointed that out. You saw the wound.
Yes.
Was there any blood coming from the wound?
Not that I remember. I don't think so. No.
Well, would it be fair to say if it's a large amount of blood?
I would have seen it.
Well, I think you'd remember that.
Yeah, I do too. But I didn't see a large amount.
Okay, so...
I saw more from back here. Inaudible.
So you saw blood in the back of her hair?
Yes.
Was it was it running down the back of her head, or could you just see the blood?
I could just see the blood.
Did you ever see any on her clothes?
No, I didn't really pay much attention to her clothes. I could tell you where it is. Take you to them.
We're going to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Do you know as far as, is there any blood on your clothes?
I don't know. We can find out.
We will.
I didn't pay any attention.
You didn't see any blood?
Correct.
When you got home after you removed those clothes?
Amanda was upstairs.
Where did you change clothes at?
Downstairs.
What did you do with them then after you took them off?
Huh?
What did you do with your clothes after you took them off?
Took them over to the shed.
Wouldn't Amanda be suspicious of you going outside?
I told her I was going to run over to my bike real quick. Make sure I got all the lights shut off and everything.
What about what? So she comes back downstairs.
She wasn't. She was upstairs.
Okay, so
right before I left, I yelled upstairs, "I'll be right back."
And the container you put them in, where did you get that container at?
It's been mine for...
Was it already there or?
Yeah, it was already there.
Describe that for me.
Rubbermaid, like we get for our containers at jail.
Did it have handles on it?
Yeah.
What color was it?
It's gray with a red lid.
Did Balser get any blood on her?
With stickers all over it.
What kind of stickers? Oh, he totally evaded that question.
Yes, he did. Racing stickers.
Did Balser get any blood on her? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
If we told you we've got someone saying that Balser was in her apartment cleaning her shoes on 2 occasions, do you have any knowledge of that? Have you heard that?
I heard it, yeah.
How did you hear it?
Paperwork, and Mandy Amon told me.
Mandy Amon told you that?
Yes.
Let's talk about Mandy Amon.
Yeah.
Okay. You and her friends? Well, you obviously are. You went to her house.
Yeah, we were.
What type of a relationship do you have?
Friends, buddy relationship.
Okay, Mandy Amon have any knowledge of what took place out there?
No.
Do you know?
Other than what she heard from?
But you say that you heard Mandy Amon told you about Elizabeth Balser cleaning her shoes?
Yeah, she said she heard.
How'd she know that?
She heard it.
From who? She never told you.
No, and if she did, I don't remember.
What about Yates? Yates get any blood on his clothes?
We're laughing because it actually says, what about Yates? Yates get any clothes on his clothes? Oh my goodness. Not to my knowledge.
Tell me again, what Balser was wearing, the best that you remember.
I know I seen a white shirt and a pair of blue jeans.
Is it a t-shirt?
Yes.
Long sleeve or short sleeve?
Short sleeve.
Any writing, a picture, or anything?
I think there might have been, but
Front or back?
Front and back, I think.
Was it writing or pictures?
Both, I think.
And you say she had blue jeans?
Blue jeans. Pair of pants on. Jeans.
Shorts or long pants?
Regular pants.
Did you get a look at her shoes?
No.
Did she have a hat on of any type, or do you recall?
I don't remember. I know I had a hat on.
Where's it at?
It's one of my hats out of my hat. I have like 50 hats.
Do you remember which hat it was? I mean, if we took you to your 50 hats today, Could you point that hat out?
I could point out one of 3 or 4, yeah.
Can't be specific, though. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Correct. Because I wear different hats depends on what I wear. I'm guessing it's with my white hat, but...
You don't know for a fact.
Right. It might have been the black one.
Okay, so you don't know if they got blood on their clothes. I think of Balser and Yates. You don't know about their shoes then.
Right.
I
wasn't paying any attention.
What was Yates wearing? Do you recall?
No.
How do you recall what Balser was wearing, but you don't recall what Yates was wearing?
I was with Balser longer. I saw her more.
Okay, you don't recall what Yates had on at all?
No.
You got...
I'm guessing probably jeans and a t-shirt too, because that's what he usually wore.
What shoes did you have on?
I've got them out at my house. I can show you.
Are they with the same clothes, or you wore them since then?
No, I wore them since. They're my work shoes.
Are they work boots? Tennis shoes?
Tennis shoes.
Okay.
I think they're New Balance. I don't know. Can I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna take just a short break. It's 5:25. Kyle's gonna take a quick bathroom break. We'll be right back.
Oh my God. You can totally tell he was getting so frustrated.
Yeah. Well, Lord have mercy, they ask him the same damn questions 3 times.
Yeah. But I think they were trying to trip him up.
Oh yeah, that's definitely what they were doing.
Say something different.
Exactly. You would think that they would word the questions different.
Yeah. Thanks be to Tony Frawley and Jay Rich, Kyle was allowed to see all statements before he was interrogated.
Which blows my mind. Why would you let a suspect see the statements of somebody that's been questioned before?
I don't know. But it sounds like both him and Yates saw them. It wasn't just him. Because earlier in the reading, he said, we were talking about, have you seen this statement and this statement and this statement?
Right.
Which means that both Yates and Kyle Neff saw statements before they were probably interviewed.
Well, yeah, and he said, and you read the statements. So you read the statements before you came in for this interview so you could cover your own ass. And he said yes.
Yep. And Mark said Amanda told us they allowed him to see it so he would give the correct statement and answers to coincide with Bush. Which makes sense now, because in one of those statements, Amanda says that Kyle went to the park to meet up with Andrew to get their story straight.
Right. So he could get out of jail quicker to be with his kids.
Yeah. Randy, Andrea is portraying Tony Frawley mostly.
And Gary Stout.
Every once in a while, Gary Stout throws in a question. And then every great once in a great while, Neff's attorney says something.
Hey, Randy. I went to school with Randy.
Oh, okay.
Or is it Angie? His wife's name's Angie.
Oh, okay. Well, Randy, Angie, welcome.
Right.
This whole statement makes me cringe because of what we know.
Yeah.
And he couldn't take the heat anymore, so he had to go to the bathroom.
Of course.
All
he
right.
probably had to go to the bathroom and pull out his notes.
Well, you notice that most of the questions had detail in them.
Oh, yeah.
You just said yes or no or correct.
Right.
We both are watching.
Yeah, they're both watching.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. We're back in the room. The time is approximately 5:36 p.m. Present is Kyle Neff, his attorney Stephanie Durand, and myself, Tony Frawley. Kyle, we're going to pick back up where we were. One thing I want to ask you now, well, it's on my mind, and it's bothering me some. It's bothering Gary, and it's also bothering Mr. Rich, the prosecutor. You keep referring to reading statements, like Drew Bush's statement, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And in fact, we've kind of made light of that. You know, you said something, and
on that,
I knew how you knew that. Okay, as a concern to us that you may just be telling us things that you've read in his statement. Okay, I'm not telling you are. I'm telling you it's a concern of ours. Okay.
Okay.
So the story you're telling us today is actually how it took place. It's not based on anything you've read. We know you've been provided things from Stephanie. That's part of the process. But your story today is an actual account of how it took place.
Correct.
It has nothing to do with whatever Drew Bush said.
Correct.
Or anybody else has told us as a matter of fact.
Correct.
This is your own story.
Yes, it is.
And even though you keep referring to things like what I read in here and I read it here.
When you ask me, I'm going to tell you what I've read and heard.
But you're also telling us what you saw.
Correct.
Can I follow up to that?
You sure? Oh,
you sure can. This is Stephanie Durand, Kyle's lawyer. In all the discovery that I've provided you, Kyle, have you received anything on Inaudible?
Oh, of course it's Inaudible.
Of course it is.
His answer is no.
Have you seen any type of written statement or any videotape statement?
No, I haven't.
In fact, have I made any videotape statements available to you?
No, I haven't seen any videotapes.
Okay, so anything you've seen has been transcribed?
Correct.
Like a transcribed witness statement?
Yes.
Okay, back to Tony Frawley. If Drew Bush wasn't involved, and you're saying he's not, and he's not part of this plan of getting her to the park and doing whatever's going to happen, and what you said, getting her butt whipped, what bothers me is, Kyle, if I'm going to do something like Elizabeth Balser did,
yeah,
I'm going to want as few people present as possible.
Correct.
The one thing that concerns me, even though Drew Bush was present, she goes ahead and shoots her.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, does that strike you as odd?
Yeah, but then...
I mean, if I'm going to kill somebody, I don't want anybody present.
The way she looked at me after she did it, it didn't look like... I don't know if she really meant to pull the trigger.
She bought the gun.
Yes, I think I don't know.
Why do you bring a gun?
Correct. To scare somebody, maybe.
If you're going to bring a gun to a gunfight, what are you going to do with that gun?
Shoot it.
Right. Okay. So, you know, why would you guys didn't talk about prior to, if somebody's there, or if somebody, what happens if there had been 10 people in the park? Was she still going to whip her rear end as far as you knew?
Yeah, as far as I know.
So none of those plans were going to change?
Correct.
Okay.
That's all I thought was going to happen prior to.
Okay, you told law enforcement, you and Amanda, as a matter of fact, told law enforcement that you had been threatened by drug dealers. In fact, a some gal in Indianapolis by the name of Tabitha or Tabby.
Yes.
Okay. Is that a true story?
Yes, it is.
And was that the reason, you originally contacted Derek? It's supposed to be Branham, but it says Brown. About a gun?
Yes, it is.
Did your contacting Derek Branham about a gun have anything to do with the death of Tabitha Raines?
No, it didn't. And if you want me to prove it as a true story, there is a guy in Tipton County Jail that was with us that day, actually.
Who's that?
He's in there for burglary. I'd have to ask a name, but my wife does know him.
Was with you where?
He's in jail.
Yeah.
He was arrested for burglary. He got in trouble.
Yeah, but you said he was with us that day. What do you mean?
No, when I got blamed for stealing coke.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
He went down there with me.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because if you want me to back this up.
Okay, and here's the question and prior to today, I personally never spoke with you about this homicide, have I?
No.
I was not present in any conversations you had with Gary Stout.
Gary Stout?
It just didn't work out that I was here.
Right.
You know, Gary Stout and I did a lot of interviewing together through this thing. You were not one of them. Is that correct?
Correct.
In fact, I don't know that I've ever spoken to you except maybe in passing.
Yeah,
Other than in passing.
Right. You spoke to me in court one day.
Yeah, but not anything to do
with this.
With this and to question you prior to your arrest. I don't think we've ever spoke.
No.
Okay.
We did on the telephone once.
Did we?
You called and asked for if Amanda was there.
That's right. When you showed up that morning to talk to her.
Yes.
That is correct. Okay. The question that we've come up between us is that from the information gathered is that someone feels that you kind of directed law enforcement towards Liz Balser's direction.
Yes, I have.
Why?
Why? Because I felt like she needed to be arrested for it. She did it.
If you felt that way, okay, and I'm going to ask you.
I had to look at myself in the...
Okay, all right. You wanted her to be arrested, but you not be in trouble. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I didn't want anyone to know my involvement.
Okay.
I've been trying my hardest to keep it that way.
Okay.
Even from Stephanie till about...
Okay, and I appreciate that answer because that's an honest answer, okay?
Yeah.
Are you fearful of any retaliation from her?
Yeah.
I mean, did that keep you from coming forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one reason.
Why didn't you point us toward Yates?
Because I felt like he was in the same situation as me.
Okay. Was there, other than to save your own rear end, any advantage to you to point out Elizabeth Balser, to send us to that direction? Because I'll just tell you the reason I asked this question. From day one, I don't know if Stephanie knows this or not. We have had 3 people. Kyle, you're one of them. From the very first day of this investigation, we suspected you and Yates and Liz.
My wife, too.
Well, not so much. That's just honest. We suspected you just because within 12 hours, we talked to numerous people in 12 hours.
Uh-huh.
You know, and you were at the forefront, you know, and we never wavered from that.
Yeah.
From day one.
I know.
And so it was suspicious from some of us when you pointed us towards Liz and away. Well, it wasn't suspicious. We were just kind of caught off guard by that a little bit. Here's a guy saving his bacon, but you were going to give up her, but you never really gave her up.
Right. I never said I knew she did.
Okay.
Until today, I never said that.
You said that Tabitha was killed in the park.
Yes.
And the location you told us is the correct location. Nowhere else.
No.
And where at exactly? By which footbridge?
The middle one, the one in between.
Well, there is no middle one.
Well, there's one by the pool, and then there's a bridge on the highway.
Which would be to the east, down by the horseshoe pitch. So there's a cement bridge and a wooden bridge. Which one is it?
There's a cement. The wooden one was the middle.
And that's the one where you're near.
Yes.
She was shot there. Taken over there. Her body was dropped in the creek where it was.
Yes.
Taken over there by you and Yates.
Yes.
And Balser. And no one else.
No.
Dropped in the creek by you and Balser.
Correct.
Were any vehicles used to transport her body?
No, there wasn't.
From the time she was shot till the time she was put in the creek, was her body ever in any vehicle?
No.
Did you guys go directly from where she was shot to where her body was? And what I mean by that, did you take her anywhere else in the park other than a path to where her body was resting?
One path.
Okay, other than being struck by Elizabeth Balser on what you thought at least more than one time, did anyone else strike her?
No.
Anyone else have any physical contact with her prior to her death?
No.
We believe that in Balser's defense, she's going to fabricate an alibi.
Uh-huh.
Hang on, got blank pages. Okay. Do you know what fabricate means? Make a lie?
Yeah, make a lie.
Okay, do you know what that will be? Do you have any idea? Did you and her ever talk about what her alibi would be? Because I think you said that you talked to her one time.
Yeah.
And where was that?
Out at the Carter's parking lot.
You never talked about, I think you said she asked you if you had told anybody or if you was keeping your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Or however she worded that.
Yeah.
You never discussed, she never told you what she was going to say.
Correct.
Never.
She said if I keep my mouth shut, we'll be all right.
She said if you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
She didn't say anything about keeping her mouth shut.
No.
So she didn't tell you what her alibi was. Did she ever tell you if she had an alibi who was going to provide it for her? So she didn't ever discuss an alibi with you?
No.
Ever?
Shakes head no.
We already discussed this. You left the inaudible because you saw Balser at Maine and Madison. She told you to follow her to the high school, and you did that?
Correct.
Correct. Were there any phone calls between you and Yates and Balser prior to this homicide on that evening?
No.
No phone calls?
No.
Were you at when you said that the only time you were ever in Balser's car was that night?
Yes.
So you weren't outside Tabitha Raines' apartment in Balser's car?
No.
If we have someone given a statement that you were present either by riding or driving in Balser's car outside Tabitha Raines' apartment.
I might have.
On Wednesday the 2nd, that's not true?
No.
What did you start to say? I might have been what?
I might have been on my bike, but I wasn't in Balser's car.
You've never been in there?
No.
And that's a true statement?
That's the honest to God's truth.
Okay.
I had my bike parked on that concrete slab in the backyard.
Okay, is that the story about Amanda's grandmother's true?
Yes, it is.
That was, in fact, she was in the hospital. What hospital was that?
It was either Howard or St. Joseph.
So it was in Kokomo?
Yes.
Okay.
Her being behind the hospital, just a coincidence. Tabby's body being behind the hospital is just a coincidence to Tabby saying that story.
And why did you drop her right behind there? If I'm gonna kill somebody.
That's what Liz said. That's hidden there.
Okay, is that where you would have put her? I mean,
no. I would have went downstream.
What I'm saying is, if you're going to kill her, you know, if you want the body to be found, you're just going to leave the body.
Yeah.
If you're going to move the body, I think you're moving it so she's not found, okay?
Yeah.
So
if I was going to move the body, I wouldn't move it there.
Where would you have done it?
More downstream.
When you say more downstream, you're talking about towards around the bend towards the bridge by the golf course?
Yeah.
That's what you're calling downstream?
Yes.
Okay.
Right where it would have went down by Black Bridge and maybe to I don't know. That's what I would have thought, but
you ever put a body in there before?
No, I've been in there though before.
Like partying and things like that?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your relationship with Balser.
Yeah.
How long have you known her? You told me earlier. What did you say?
Maybe a couple of years, maybe a year.
Okay.
I've known of her.
How many times were you with her? You party with her? You've partied with her before. You've mentioned that.
Yeah.
About how many times?
Maybe 3 or 4, maybe. I don't know exactly how many times.
A few times. A handful of times?
Yeah.
And I believe you answered this. The only time you saw her after the murder was at Carter's parking lot.
Correct.
Approximately how long was that after the murder?
Approximately a month. A month.
You know what day of the week it was?
No.
Was it day or night?
It was dusk.
Who was with her?
She was by herself.
What was she in?
Her car.
That same car?
Yes, and I was in my Honda.
And you were by yourself?
Yes.
Was that just a by chance meeting?
Yes, I was going to the grocery store and
And you saw her?
She saw me and pulled me over.
Prior to that night, had you seen Balser in that car?
Yes, I've seen that car around her, yes.
I mean, let's just pick a time frame. Let's say a month before the homicide.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the homicide occurred on October the 2nd. So let's say in the month of September, did you ever see Balser driving her car that you recall? Or did you see anyone driving her car?
I don't recall. I don't.
So she could have. You don't really know.
Right. Well, when I drive through town, I don't pay attention.
Okay.
Unless I'm on my motorcycle.
Okay, your guys' arrival at the park obviously was planned. You and her were going to go together, and then you found out Yates was going to be there.
When we got to the park.
Right.
When we go to the park, yes.
Prior to getting to the park, did you know Tabby was already there?
Not prior to getting there, no.
You just expect her at some point in time to show up?
Correct.
Do you know how she was going to get there, or didn't you? Did you ever say that?
She never said that.
And you believe she walked?
That's what I believe.
And you said once you guys got to the park, you parked over by the shuffleboard?
Yes, in the gravel.
And you walked down on the cement thing behind the shuffleboard?
Yes.
Smoked a joint?
Lit up joint.
And then walked around the creek bank to the footbridge?
Correct, to meet John.
When you arrived, I just asked you this, but I'm going to ask you again. When you arrived at the park, you did not know Tabby was there yet?
Not right when we got in there, no.
But did you not tell us earlier, prior to turning the tape on, when you got out of the car, you saw her in the pavilion?
Correct.
And that's pretty good. That's pretty good distance.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And do you know it? And do you know it was Tabby?
Oh, it says, and how do you know it was Tabby? Okay.
Oh, how do you know? Okay. Is there any lighting in the park pavilion?
Yes.
So that would have allowed you to see that, or?
Yes.
Did you didn't see anybody else?
Okay.
And in fact, you said you didn't know she was with anybody until she came across the grass.
Correct.
And you saw Drew Bush and you knew him, or you didn't know him?
I didn't know him.
And you said you don't know for sure how Yates got to the park?
No.
Right?
Correct.
And you don't know how he left?
Correct. I know he walked into the park, but I don't know if...
How do you know he walked into the park if he came out from underneath the bridge?
Well, he had to have walked in there.
Why?
Why? Because there's no truck there. His truck wasn't there. His car wasn't there. He had to have walked there.
Okay, and we discussed earlier, you don't have any idea how Bush got there.
No.
In fact, I asked you.
I know that.
And you said Chris Baker because you read a statement.
Yes.
We talked about her clothes and her clothes being removed.
Yes.
Or, okay, and you said you have her pants.
Yes.
Her purse.
And her belt.
And her belt?
Uh-huh.
When we asked her about underwear, what did you say?
I don't remember her wearing any.
So in other words, when Elizabeth was taking her pants off,
uh-huh,
you don't recall any being on?
No, but there might be in the pants. They might have.
What about a bra?
I don't remember one.
So if the bra's not in that container, does that mean she didn't have one on, or?
Right.
You didn't take possession of it?
I didn't take possession of it.
And they're at your residence?
Yes.
On your mom's property, actually?
Yes.
Once again, she was thrown in the creek, down by where the big cement slab is?
Yes.
Behind the hospital?
Yes.
Just past the ballpark?
Yes.
Okay.
I can show you where that's at.
And in fact, we talked about that, and at some point in time, you're going to do that.
Yes.
Okay, and we discussed this. You know the clothes, and let's talk about Bush's clothes. Do you recall what Drew Bush was wearing? Do you have any idea?
Hold on. Let me think. He had on blue jeans. I remember that. And I think a long sleeve t-shirt.
And while we're speaking about Bush, and Gary asked you this earlier, and I don't remember, I think it was prior to the tape going on, in Drew Bush's statement, he said he got blood on him.
Yes.
Okay.
If he did, I didn't see it.
But in you're saying he was just a little closer to Tabby than you were?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Maybe.
And you were about how far from Tabby?
From me to that chair.
6 feet?
Yeah.
7 feet? So he might have been 4 or 5 feet?
Not that much closer.
So how much?
Probably about 5.5.
Okay.
If he was any closer, it was 5.5.
You said he was wearing blue jeans and you thought a long sleeve shirt.
I think. I don't know for sure.
Do you remember what color the shirt was?
No, I don't remember much about him.
You don't recall what Yates was wearing?
No.
And Balser was?
A white.
You said blue jeans and a white t-shirt with writing.
Oh, hang on. Yes.
Short sleeve?
Yes. I don't remember her wearing a hat.
And you were wearing what?
I was wearing an orange Cheryl shirt, a pair of blue jeans, and a hat.
And the blue jeans and the shirt are locked in a container with Elizabeth Balser's clothing or Tabitha Raines's.
Right.
Pants, belt, and purse.
Yes.
So you don't have any idea what Bush, Yates, or Balser did with any of their clothing?
No, I don't.
Did you talk to, on the night you saw Balser, did you talk to her about what she did with her clothing?
No.
Was there ever any conversation?
She asked me if I burned.
What did you tell her?
I told her yeah.
Which indeed was a lie.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't want her to get mad at me.
Okay, and that's the only conversation with Balser. That's it. That's page 107.
Yeah. So this is the end of page 107. It says page 107 of 147. So we're missing 108 to 147 in this statement.
How odd.
Yeah. Through the statements he gave, nothing was said about the hoodie they found on her. Yeah. So this one, it's important that we read this one to you so you know what his initial answers were. Because as we go along, things are going to change. And he's going to supposedly tell the truth.
Do you want to read the recommendation of plea? That's only 2 pages. That's the next document according to dates.
What is it? The recommendation?
Recommendation of plea bargain. It's dated August the 15th of 2003, the day after his tape statement.
Okay. Oh, I see it. So that statement was taken on August 14th, correct?
Yes, the tape statement was.
Okay.
And
then on August 15th, you have the state of Indiana versus Kyle Neff.
Right.
Recommendation of plea bargain. Comes now the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney J.D. Rich, the defendant, Kyle M. Neff, in person, and by counsel Stephanie C. Doran, and a file of recommendation of plea bargain as follows. The prosecutor anticipates that the defendant intends to enter plea of guilty to the lesser included offense of count 2, criminal confinement, as a Class D felony. That said recommendation is filed with the court prior to entry of the above plea. That said recommendation is as follows. Defendant shall be sentenced to the Indiana Department of Corrections for a period of 1 year executed. The state agrees to dismiss counts 1 and 3. The parties agree that as a specific condition of this plea agreement, that the defendant agrees to cooperate fully with the state of Indiana and assist them in their investigation and prosecutions relating to the murder of Tabitha Raines. The parties further agree that the failure of the defendant to provide complete and truthful information concerning the death of Tabitha Raines shall constitute grounds for the prosecuting attorney to withdraw this plea agreement prior to sentencing. The state of Indiana agrees not to file any other charges, including any petitions to revoke, suspend sentence, for which the state of Indiana, either through the prosecuting attorney and or law enforcement agencies, presently have knowledge, and further agrees not to file any other charges arising from information given by the defendant as a result of his cooperation with the state of Indiana concerning the death of Tabitha Shuck Raines. The state agrees that defendant shall be given use and derivative use immunity so long as defendant does not implicate himself as the person who actually killed Tabitha Raines. For all information given by defendant or derived therefrom arising from his assistance and cooperation with the state of Indiana, defendant agrees to attend and be available for any interviews, depositions, or court proceeding, the investigation and prosecution of any person or persons involved in the murder of Tabitha Raines. As a condition of this plea agreement, defendant agrees to testify truthfully in the state of Indiana versus Elizabeth Balser and the state of Indiana versus Jonathan Yates. That defendant states to the court that said recommendation is made of his or her own free and voluntary act, and that no one has threatened or promised him anything other than that contained herein. Further, defendant fully understands the consequences of this recommendation. The defendant has been advised and understands that this court is not bound by this recommendation. However, the defendant also understands that if this recommendation is rejected by the court, it might be so rejected before the case is tried. State of Indiana by J. D. Rich. The defendant knowingly and voluntarily waives the following constitutional rights: the right to a trial by jury at which the state would be required to prove all elements of the charge beyond a reasonable doubt, and during which the presumption of innocence would remain with the defendant. The right to subpoena favorable witnesses by compulsory process and to confront witnesses testifying against the defendant, and the right to remain silent, which cannot be used against the defendant. This was dated on 8/14/03 by Kyle Neff and his attorney, Stephanie Doran. So, I lost my screen here. Hang on.
Okay, so the next document that we have for him is the taped statement that was done on August the 27th of 03.
Okay.
So 2 weeks later.
That one we will start tomorrow.
And this is the one, I believe, where he switches it all up.
Yes. No, I agree, Mark.
And this one is
how many pages?
I'm looking. 52.
Okay.
52 pages. We can knock that out in one night.
Here's hoping.
Well,
depends on how lengthy his answers are.
It's about the same as it was in this one.
Oh, good God. Okay.
The questions and the answers.
Okay. So, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will go through the next statement, deposition, whatever you want to call it, of Kyle Neff. This one that we just read is the baseline of the answers he gave. Wait till you hear tomorrow's, because a lot of it's going to change.
And then I believe the one after that is where they actually went to court. Well, yeah. It says State of Indiana versus Balser and Yates.
You're getting that too? Doesn't seem like they're interested in the real truth.
Imagine that.
That's exactly what I thought when I first read through these. They just wanted to prosecute somebody.
Hey, in good news, we're almost through one complete binder.
Woohoo! Mark says, we demanded that they refuse to strike this plea down because he was caught in multiple lies and holes in the statement. Jay Rich called Buffy after he did this plea, which is against ethics laws. Okay, we looked that up. What did we say on that, Andrea? When we looked that up,
the prosecuting attorney only has to notify the family of a plea agreement. They do not have to have approval. However, the victims of the family can give an impact statement at the hearing.
Right. What we said was unethical about it is the fact that Jay Rich has a personal relationship with Kyle Neff's mother.
Which should have instantly been a conflict of interest.
Exactly. It was a conflict of interest, and he should have never been near any part of Kyle Neff in this trial or in this case.
Yeah, they should have assigned a special prosecutor.
Right. Well, who knows? Another prosecutor may have given him that, but because the fact that Jay Rich is personal friends and has been family friends with the Neffs, so the Riches and the Neffs have known each other for decades. And Jay Rich and Cheryl Neff have known each other for a long time.
Debbie Neff.
Or Debbie Neff, sorry. I'm thinking Cheryl's Restaurant. Right. Debbie Neff. He should have never had anything to do with Kyle's part in this case. It's a conflict of interest. For the reason that everybody's been talking about it. He gave Kyle Neff a sweet-ass deal kissed his mother walking out of or in the back of the courthouse at Elizabeth's trial when she was acquitted.
And called Debbie Neff whenever he had his accident.
Yes. So everybody has said that he favored Kyle Neff, and that's exactly what it looks like he did. That's exactly why he should have never, ever had his hands in this.
Now, something else that we kind of need to tell them is that Stephanie Duran had actually filed for a change of venue for Kyle's hearing out of Tipton County. Judge Nation, who was appointed the special judge, said no, he was not going to grant the change of venue.
Right.
Then a couple weeks later, Jay Rich goes in and files for a change of venue due to lack of security at the courthouse.
Yep.
And that change of venue is granted. Now, that's probably the best thing that he did in that case.
Right.
Because everybody knows that back in 2002, 2003, whenever the hearing would have taken place, that Tipton County Courthouse did not have any security whatsoever. They barely even had a bailiff when they had hearings.
Right.
So someone could have very easily, who had an issue with Kyle, walked in and taken him out.
Right. But still, Jay Rich should have never.
No, he shouldn't have
ever touched Kyle Neff's portion of this investigation.
Even having a good conscience, he should have said, "Okay, listen, I'm friends with this family."
Even question them.
Right. I'm friends with this family. Everybody in this town knows that. I probably should recuse myself of this and request a special prosecutor.
Correct.
But that was not the case, because he said, "Oh, that's okay. I'll take care of it."
Oh, he took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the unethical portion that Mark's talking about, is the fact that there was a conflict of interest, and Jay Rich should have never, ever been even been able to look or speak to Kyle Neff regarding this. Oh, so the kiss was done in the lobby of the courthouse. Okay.
Same thing. Yeah, because they held all the witnesses out in the lobby of the courthouse. Remember, because somebody was going out of the courtroom out to the hallway and was telling everybody what they were saying?
Yep. Miracle Heart says he absolutely protected Kyle, and that should have never been allowed to happen. Exactly. That's what we're saying. He was almost belligerent about it and proud of himself for having the power to do so. You are right on, girl.
But yet he tells the news crews that went to his house to try to interview him that he was so sorry to the family and that he thought it was a fair trial, and that the jury made their decision, and that he dedicated 1.5 years of his life and his family, not being around his family, to this case.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't matter. If you are elected a county prosecutor, it doesn't matter if it was 6 months or 2 years.
That's your job.
You do your damn job.
Right.
And your family should understand that, knowing your position.
Right. No, you're exactly right. Have a good night, Vid Inquiries. No, I agree 100%. And we got to tell you that before this plea agreement, Gary Stout had offered him a plea agreement. Not as good as this one, from what I heard, but a pretty good one. And he took it away from him because he said he was lying. Well, then Gary Stout gets sick, and Jay Rich takes over and gives them this sweet deal.
Yeah, because the one that knew the truth was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Have you checked the comments lately?
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I've seen them rolling by. I haven't paid any attention to them.
Yeah, I got them.
Wait, I saw my name in one.
The real truth would show the good old boys club involvement. Yeah. Bid inquires, I'll be messaging you, Andrea, about buying a Justice for Tabitha shirt. Has been crazy summer as I'm only one working. At the moment. Okay. Yeah. So buckle up, buttercups, because tomorrow night's going to be interesting.
Put your waders on, because the shit's only going to get deeper.
Yep. You got that right. Hang on to your seatbelts.
And if they think this one, Kyle's depositions and statements are mind blowing, wait till they hear all the other ones.
Oh, I know.
Because I'm telling you, we have 4 binders plus full of depositions and statements and stuff. It'll literally blow your mind.
Yeah, I agree. And you
plus
said we're almost through binder 1, right?
Yes.
Okay. Whew.
Plus, we finally have some people emailing.
Yes.
Telling us things.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of corroborate what's we've read.
Yep. And
so hey, it's working. It's working.
It is. So now all we got to do is get Jay Rich out of office.
Well, and supposedly isn't that supposed to happen at the end of the year?
Can't happen soon enough.
Is that what Mark said? He's retiring?
Yeah. Can't happen soon enough. But all right, everybody, we're going to end it there, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow night.
Get your popcorn out.
Yep, get ready. This one will be interesting. And I'm sure we'll have to stop in between reading, whereas tonight we kind of just ran right through it. But tomorrow night we're going to have to stop here and there and point out inconsistencies to you. So
all the lies.
Interesting lies.
All the lies.
Yep. All right. This is me, Marv, and Andrea signing off for tonight. We will be back tomorrow.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.